Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major!
Welcome to Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they released, and today we're talking about The Cooler from 2003. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And of course, as we mentioned in the other episode, the number one redhead in the world, it is Mitchell Beaupre. How are you?
Thank you for addressing me by my preferred designation.
And there's no other guests whatsoever. Nobody is bombarding this episode. Oh God, it's Dan Mecca's music. Oh God. He's here from one of my favorite podcasts.
Come to B&H to buy some. Sorry, that's a different episode. Thank you. Yes, it's one of your favorite podcasts. Always appreciate you saying that.
It's true.
The Film Stage, the B-Side podcast.
And by
podcast,
I feel like by this time my episode about Sandra Bullock will probably be out. So
yes,
hell yeah,
yes. You were on to talk Sandy B.
Love Potion number
Charlie,
9.
You'll have to come on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to think of an actor to talk
Mitchell.
about.
Yeah. Mitchell guest hosted an episode.
That's right.
With Mariah, right?
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore.
That was a great
Mariah
episode.
Gates.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm coming for Corey's title. I'm trying to be the most frequented guest. Corey and Jordan better watch out.
Corey? I think it's Gavin. Gavin, I think, is more because Gavin always comes on for the Halloween episode.
It's true because then you get Joe on a lot for the Oscar-y ones.
Joe and
I need
Chris
to get one of these
for the
recurring
Oscars.
slots.
You got to
I need
get the recurring
yeah.
yearly. Yeah, you got to get on. I mean, you know what's gonna happen is another life thing's gonna happen, and you're just gonna end up hosting a few.
You're gonna have another kid by the summer.
Honestly, shut the fuck up.
You can't leave the kids on an odd number. You can't have 9 children. You gotta have 10. Like, come on.
Oh my God, 9. Can you imagine?
Well, guess
9?
what, Dan? You're probably gonna be our most guested person on Almost Major because you're also coming on again for Wonderland and the Cat's
Oh yeah,
Meow.
what is it?
Wonderland and the Cat's
Wonderland.
Meow. Those are the ones.
Wonderland and the Cat's Meow. Yeah.
The B-Side, my favorite podcast. I love the B-Side, and so Dan Mecca is the reason I started listening to Almost Major because I saw Dan promoting the Ghost Dog episode, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll check this out.
That's
I
right.
loved it.
That's
And so then
incredible.
I fell in love with the show, met you guys, so Dan.
That's so
that
sweet.
was
Thank you.
right.
That is incredible.
And we talked about it. So it was Ghost Dog and
Panic.
The other one, Panic. Yeah.
I forget the title,
Which I
as
like
well.
Panic.
Yes.
Which Panic, it's funny because Panic was. We just did Confidence. Panic was similar to Confidence, where it was like a movie that I really liked, and you guys kind of were like, not as much
I liked
on
it.
board with it.
I'll go to
Bryden
that
liked
for
it.
it.
Okay. Yeah, good.
I always
Yeah,
confuse
so that's
Panic
funny.
with Edmund, that other Bill Macy.
Written by David
yeah.
Mamet. Yeah.
Yeah.
The main thing I remember from Panic is the scene starts with Neve Campbell in therapy going, "I like pussy, all right." Like that's what I mainly remember from
You know
that
what's funny,
movie.
man? Edmund is directed by Stuart Gordon.
Yeah,
who did Reanimate.
Yeah, that's
always
right.
a
So
funny,
wild. He has a
Funny,
pretty wild career. I still need to see Castle Freak and From Beyond. He did From Beyond, right?
Yeah, I need to
Okay.
see
You did do
From
From
Beyond,
Beyond.
too.
But yes, thank you so much, my two of my favorite people, Mitchell and Dan, for coming on once again. Once again, love the B-Side, love the Letterboxd podcast. The Cooler 2003 premiered at Sundance in January 2003. Opened limited November 26, 2003. Opened wider. It didn't exactly open wide because it only opened at max 408 theaters. Opened wider January 16th of 2004. A budget of $3.2 million, which Confidence had a $15 million budget, and I feel like this movie, if it had $15 million budget and Confidence had $3.2 million, I would understand that. I'm surprised they got this much done with $3.2 million. It's pretty astounding. Opening weekend, it made $128,000. Domestic gross of $8.2 million. Overall gross of $11.1 million. Big awards is that Alec Baldwin got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this role. Speaking of Alec Baldwin, top 5 films that weekend: Cat in the Hat. I had the DVD with the white case, of course. Haunted Mansion, Elf, Gothica, and Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
That's a real shift after those first three into
totally.
Gothica.
I think I've seen all those except Master and Commander, which I feel like is me fucking up.
Same.
What
Same.
are you doing,
same.
buddy?
I've
What?
seen them all
Both of
besides
you?
Master and Commander. Yep.
Hey,
Neither of you have seen. So wait, Charlie, you've
Wow.
seen Master and Commander?
yeah, so I saw it in theaters. I need to leave this podcast now.
I'm sorry.
Gotta
Have
hit
you
the
not?
seas.
I'm sorry. You haven't seen Haunted Mansion? You didn't download
No,
that off of
no,
Camrip
I-
and LimeWire back in the day? Oh, that was just
No,
me.
I saw
Okay.
that shit in theaters too. No, the only one I haven't seen is Cat in the Hat. I've only seen snippets of it, but I love Master and Commander.
Cat in the Hat is crazy.
It's
I haven't seen that
it's
either.
not as bad as people say. It's kind of. I feel like
best,
if people
you're
are
right.
just like, wow, like
People say it's like the worst movie ever made.
I
so,
mean,
I
yeah.
mean, it's like
it's just like
it's so funny. You know, the Mike Myers. It's wow. It's like the Mike Myers post Austin Powers thing is like truly one of the most fascinating. Like, you know, that movie, The Love Guru, and that's kind of it,
The
right?
Shrek
And then like
Inglourious
Inglourious
Basterds
you know,
and Shrek,
Inglourious
yeah.
Basterds, interesting
his Nep-
scene. Oh, I guess Shrek.
And then his
Shrek,
Netflix
right, Shrek is
show,
its
The
own thing.
Pentaveret, which I watched the first episode of with my brother and thought was like,
Was it not? Was it
no,
good? Or
it was maybe one of the worst episodes of TV I think I've ever seen.
not? Yeah.
He did the Gong. He did the Gong Show. Like.
oh
like,
yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that
forgot
until he
about
was
that.
on the SNL Fly on the Wall podcast that I follow. I was like, what? I didn't know about that.
Oh, that was an interesting. Yeah, the David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
That's
It's
the one. Dana Carvey. David
entirely
Spade show,
my
yeah.
shit. I'm obsessed with SNL. So.
I also know we talk about Gothic a lot, but like
Our next
that movie
intermission
was
episode, yeah.
That was a huge movie in November.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like
Yeah.
Halloween had already passed, and that movie made like $100 million.
But you see, it was Matthew
Crazy movie.
Kassovitz. He had the goods. You see,
Yeah. When did that come out? Was that a Halloween leftover, or did it somehow come out like second week of November?
It came
Wait,
out
which
like
movie is this?
Gothica. Like it's insane
Oh,
that a horror
Gothica, yeah.
movie after Halloween made that much money.
November
Like,
21st.
You know what happened
2003
on-
is when it comes out.
You know what happened on that movie?
What?
Downey Love.
Robert Downey Jr. met. Susan
Yeah,
Downey.
that's
That's
right.
nice.
That's right. Yeah,
True Love.
something good had.
That's Macho Kasovic, right? That was his one of his last,
Yeah.
like big.
Wow,
Hollywood
no,
movies.
Babylon AD.
Well,
Yeah.
Babylon 8.
Yeah.
No, I said one. I said one.
It's funny. I've never seen Lahane, which has been on my list for
fucking-
over
fucking
10
phenomenal.
years,
Good-
and we're
Good
sho-
movie.
It's a good movie.
we're
yeah.
showing it at the Coolidge. Like, and I'm gonna have to take that night off just so I can come see it because everyone's like, "You haven't seen that?" I'm like, "No, but I have seen.
Pretty
I have
good.
seen Gothica
Yeah.
a few times though." Like,
What's that actor's name? Saeed
Sai Tagmawi. Yeah,
was it
he's so good in that.
Tagmawi and
Vincent Cassel.
Vincent Cassel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vincent Cassel, not a
It's
good guy.
interesting.
No.
Macho Kasovic, you know, if you can find it online, there's a semi-unreleased making of Babylon AD.
The Babylon 80 stuff with him is crazy.
doc,
Yeah.
and Vin Diesel like comes across not amazing.
What a
like,
shocker.
They hated each other. Like, I think Diesel basically wanted to direct that movie, and Fox kind of didn't mind that idea. I think, and it just that should have been a great movie. Babylon
I've
AD.
heard about that documentary. It's called fucking Kassovitz, which sounds awesome.
Right,
But,
yeah.
and I saw it was available, but I think it's mostly in French. I would love to know if there's.
Yeah, you can't.
There's a Letterboxd
really,
page for it where people like log it.
wow.
Yeah, you can't really find it fully either like dubbed or
Damn.
subtitled. I guess you could get it. I mean, I could rip it and get it subtitled, honestly, and then put it back up. Actually, not a bad idea.
Whatever you feel like.
Just-
Yeah.
Just throw it up.
You have our
get it
emails,
subtitled.
is
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Yeah.
We can put it on the YouTube channel where I put all the
Well, I
special
always say, so.
features
This
of all the
is
DVDs we
you know,
got.
it's just us five gals chatting here. So I'll tell you, Connor, my co-host, obviously of the B-Side podcast, he, we love Tom Cruise, of course. We found the one thing Tom Cruise ever directed, which I don't know if you guys know, but so back in the early 90s, there was this Showtime show called Falling Angels,
Yes.
which was like all these noir 1 hour like narratives.
Soderbergh was involved in that,
And-
right?
And he I think helped
Right,
create
right,
it, right? And like all these directors would like direct episodes. Like I think like Cuarón directed an episode. Like that.
Did
type
Wong
of
Kar
thing.
Wai go in? Because I mean, I can only
I don't
assume
know.
that's kind of a
Oh,
reference.
'cause the movie Falling Angels?
Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
to be obvious.
But there's good episodes. Like Brendan Fraser's in an episode where he plays like an elevator operator, and like there are cool episodes. And Tom Cruise's one director credit is he made this hour-long movie called other than The Mummy, is called The Frightening Framus, and it's Peter Gallagher is the lead.
Wow.
And it's not great. It's not like a great, but it's a cool noir story, and it's like it's got a manic energy to it, which wouldn't surprise you, right? Tom Cruise and whatnot. And we like found the like VHS, or like we bought it off Amazon. Maybe it was a DVD, and like we back then at our old office, like we ripped it. We had Connor has the video file of this thing. So I keep telling him, like, put it up on YouTube, dude. Like, maybe it'll get taken down, but it's like Tom Cruise's one director.
I don't know if it's on YouTube, but I think I've downloaded those before.
Yeah, maybe you can find it. It's a cool show.
Yeah, I'm always curious, like, the 90s anthology series was just such a big thing for some reason. And, like...
Yeah, Fallen Angels.
Yeah, and, like, Tom Hanks directed...
Oh, it is.
Tales from the Crypt
it's
around
on
that
YouTube.
time. Like, just weird directing stuff that was going on around that time.
I'm gonna throw this here. I'm throwing it in. I'm just gonna.
It's gonna
link.
be in the show notes. Yes.
I'm gonna put it in the chat. Kevin, you can throw
Yes.
it up.
Yes,
Excellent.
I will.
Thank
There
you.
were also those car commercials that were directed by several auteurs.
Oh,
where
yeah.
Scott did one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ticker,
yes.
yeah.
It's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. My dad
Yeah,
randomly
those are great.
got that like in the mail because like just for no other reason, and we watched them.
They would like give you the
what?
set of them if you bought like a BMW, like a Benz or Mercedes,
Yeah.
like whatever
Yeah.
car.
He
it
just
is
got
that
it in
they're
the mail
advertising.
for some reason. We watched. I was like, I guess we'll watch it. It's a DVD. DVDs are new, yay! And watched it, and it was just like, this is insane. These are so good.
Yeah.
So many people in those.
Yeah. Gothica, check it out. Number one song in the U.S. this week. This is Baby Boy by Beyonce featuring Sean Paul. Number one song in Canada this week is Something More by Ryan Malcolm, which again, we've talked about him before. He's the first winner of Canadian Idol. Who could forget?
Right.
Shout out Bryden.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of Canadian Idol, and then I didn't see anything else.
That song was number one for, I think, like 3 months, because we've talked about that exact same song from this time before. Plot description from Google, which is always funny. Truly down on his luck. Lonely, single guy. Jesus, kicking a man while he's down. Just like, lonely, single piece of shit, Bernie Luce. Played by William H. Macy. Works at a Las Vegas casino where he uses his innate ability to bring about misfortune to those around him to jinx gamblers into losing. His imposing boss, Shelley, played by Alec Baldwin, is happy with the arrangement. Okay. But Bernie finds unexpected happiness when he begins dating an attractive waitress, Natalie, played by Maria Bello. And when his contentment starts to affect his job, Shelley seeks to end the relationship. Thank you, Google. Written by Frank Hanna and Wayne Kramer. Frank Hanna has done truly nothing I've ever heard of that none of us would heard of. I think he wrote a direct-to-video Stone Cold Steve Austin movie, but Logan Kinney's not here, so nobody would know that. And Wayne Kramer directed this film, but he, like I said, he also co-wrote it. Prior to this, a movie called Blazeland from 1992. After this, co-wrote Mindhunter in 2004. Yeah. Running Scared in 2006. Charlie's Please Hold Your Opinions Until After I'm Done. Wrote and directed Crossing Over in 2009, and directed, of course, We Were All in Line, Pawn Shop Chronicles in 2013. I wish I would have gotten to rewatch Running Scared, but I did kind of get to relive it through Charlie watching it for the first time. Please give your opinions on the absolutely normal, banal, straightforward, just whatever movie that's Running Scared. Right?
I mean, I didn't think you'd be allowed to get away with all that shit today, let alone in 2006. But that movie's fucking bonkers.
I think you couldn't get away with doing it today.
No,
but, like,
no.
It was like a very specific pocket where they could get that a wide release for that movie.
But like at one point, Vera Farmiga's in like her own Law and Order SVU episode for 20 minutes. Like it's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That movie's wow.
Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, it's a movie I hated deeply when I saw it, and now I'm curious if I would like it on a rewatch just because of the exploitation awareness that it has. Having now seen Pawn Shop Chronicles, which is like you said, Kevin, also Wayne Kramer, I wonder if I would appreciate it more. And also I appreciate Paul Walker more now too, and obviously he sadly passed away at a young age, but even like upon reflection and like honestly, and this, I don't know how hot of a take this is, like, and also upon there being 3 Fast and Furious movies after he's passed away, where you realize like, oh yeah, he was actually doing something.
We
because
kind of forgot that they just like
There's a fall off.
there's been a diminishing returns to those movies, and but my argument is like he was actually offering a lot in those.
Yes.
I think there was always this idea that he was like you could lose him and it wouldn't matter. Like he was like a Wonder Bread addition to that thing, and it was like, okay. And then I don't know, they've made 3 since 7, and every time I'm like, you know what I could use in this movie? Paul Walker. I could use little Paul Walker.
I mean, they
in
made
this
Tokyo
movie.
Drift, and we're just like, yeah, we can't do this. Bring back Paul Walker and all the gang. So,
yeah, and not to mention like Too Fast, Too Furious, obviously maligned when it came out, also growing in everybody's estimation because it's kind of, it's kind of like Speed Racer before Speed Racer in a lot of respects. Singleton.
Yep.
Obviously being a great director, and I think using him well. I don't know. I think it's an interesting. All of that to be said, I would be curious if I liked Running Scared more. But anyway, yeah, Wayne Kramer, interesting, weird career. I mean,
it's just funny. I hadn't seen the Cooler since I was in high school, and Running Scared I think I caught up with a couple years ago during the pandemic. And like it's funny, like watching Running Scared, I'm like, how did he go from like the Cooler to this? And then if you rewatching the Cooler, I was like, there's like fleeting moments where I'm like, oh. Yeah,
For
I
sure,
could draw a line there where like it's like him trying the flashy stuff. I'm like, he like overdoses on that in like Running Scared. I mean, to that movie's benefit, I think that I think it's fun how overcranked it is, but it is just funny to see like.
are you talking
can
about
see
like
the traces
the
of it.
interrogation scene, whatever you would call that from the Cooler, is kind of like if Running Scared was its whole movie, kind of that?
That's a fair point because it is like kind of shrieky, and that is like what Running Scared's whole thing, or like the big trailer line from me goes, "Where is he?"
Oh my god, I was in camp heaven with that whole segment. Like I was just like, I had no idea that this would be part of the meal.
Oh yeah, you have a
Running
son. Why don't
Scared
you
was
have any
like-
pictures of him in your house? Where are they?
It's also weird that it shares a title with like a very fun, harmless
Billy
Peter
Crystal,
Hyams buddy cop movie starring Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal.
And to go to, I'm glad that I watched the Cooler first, because I feel like if I went backwards, I would have been very disappointed. But I will say, and not to get too much into my initial thoughts, but I did think the Cooler, I thought aesthetically, I was just expecting it to be kind of bland, just because I don't know why, I just thought it would be. But there are shots like, to me, the big one is like someone's rolling die, and then it has like X-ray vision, like
That
it goes
was
into their
nuts.
yeah, it has X-ray vision, and then it zooms out, and it's all out of Alec Baldwin's iris. Where I was just like, "Whoa, yeah!" Like
I felt like I was watching a scene transition from Novocaine. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Wow, what a reference!
Referencing something we watched like 6 months ago, and you're like, "Wait, when did you
That
watch
was over
that?"
a year ago, Kevin.
It was.
Try a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
Alan, are you talking about Alan Rudolph's Nova?
No,
Right?
No. The Steve Martin, Helena Bonham Carter.
No, but isn't
Lord
that-
It is
No, but
David
isn't that-
Nutter, I believe, directing it. Not a much lesser
Oh.
talent than Alan Rudolph.
Oh, you know what's funny? I always do this.
always does this.
I always confuse these two movies. Alan Rudolph did The Secret Lives of Dentists.
Which I've heard is good.
Right,
which
yeah.
I always
That was
do
the alternative
that.
title.
The two dentist movies, yeah.
The two like dark comedy dentist movies that
He was really
Like,
pissed that he was
one-
not
at the
able
same
to
time.
direct the sequel to The Dentist, but he went with that.
one is Campbell Scott and the other is Steve
I also just want to say, trying to thread this the best way I can, but speaking of dentist movies, I had no idea Ellen Greene was going to be in this fucking movie, even though she's not in it for very long. I'm like, that's not her from Little Shop of Horrors. Oh my god, it is! Like, what's she doing here?
I mean, this is a pretty like crazy cast, like top to bottom. Like especially watching it soon after Paul Sorvino passing, and
Yes.
criminally not included in the Oscars, like in memoriam. And he like him showing up. I haven't seen this movie since, I was, I don't know, like a late teenager. So it's been it's been like 15 years or so for me, and I forgot, like I probably didn't even know who he was when I watched it, and like watching the opening credits and seeing like his name in there, Sean Haddisey's name in there, like threw me, like that's just like a dude who I'm like, oh, remember Sean Haddisey
Great
and like him being
Southland.
around and stuff. Yeah, it's so good on Southland. So I mean, yeah, it's really like a cool like sick cat. Joey Fatone. I mean, can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?
Shocked.
No, pronounce
Yeah.
Mitchell. Pronounce his name right, Joey Fat One.
Okay.
You gotta-
Okay.
My apologies.
Do you remember?
My
Do you remember
apologies.
when that was the whole thing?
No.
with
What was
NSYNC?
that?
But how insane is it? You guys don't
I don't
remember
think
this?
so.
I don't
How
remember
Joey
this.
Joey Fatone. I know, like I apologize to Joey Fatone for even bringing this up, but Joey Fatone was in the band in Sync, and he was a little heavier than all the other boys.
Oh.
And how insane is it that his
Nah.
name
And
spelled
heavier than all the
that
boys
we don't
back
remember
in the 90s
this?
was like 5 pounds heavier, and they were just like, whoa.
No, look. I acknowledge that was
Oh, yeah,
me.
yeah.
I'm just saying it sticks in my memory every time he comes up, because he's playing like the Michael Bublé
Yeah.
character in this movie, and this is right around the time he's
My
in
Big Fat Greek Wedding.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding as well.
Yeah. He was trying to make it happen.
Yeah. He's in.
I wonder what he's
He was
doing
in the
this week.
sequel. What do you want? He was in the
Oh
sequel.
yeah, the third.
They got a third one coming out this year.
I have no transition. Starring William H. Macy as Bernie Lutz. I didn't have time to do the prior or afterwards. Brian, you I feel like you could do this pretty good. Prior to this movie, William H. Macy, what do you got?
Well, he's in
Panic.
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 Yes.
He's in some of the early Paul Thomas Anderson movies, like
Yes.
Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and he's
Fargo,
in
of course.
Fargo,
I do have
Air
love
Force.
to give. I just don't know where to put it. Still hurts so much.
Yeah. Air Force One. He's like the pilot. I mean, just one of those guys who like was like.
Jurassic Park 3 right before this.
I mean, just funny
I
how
have a
like
trivia fact about that.
That's my first William H. Macy movie was Jurassic Park 3.
Hell
It's
yeah.
very funny you
Yeah.
brought that up.
yeah, and then like for like the last 10 years, he was just on Shameless.
Shameless,
But,
yeah.
He was in a lot of the Mammoth stuff before this. I mean, we
Yes.
mentioned
Homicide,
Edmund
he's so good in.
Mimirin, but
He's
he was
so
in
good
like
in
State and
Homicide.
Maine and
Oh, yeah,
Oleana.
yeah,
and-
yeah.
Oleana, look,
Not a good
David Mamet's lost his goddamn mind. But I still love his movies. That is one, even while watching it several years ago, was like, oh, gross.
That was a very early Mammoth for me. After Spartan, Val Kilmer, Dan mentioned earlier. Spartan is a really good Mammoth movie. I
And
love
William
Spartan.
H. Macy is
He's
good.
in
Oh,
that.
he has
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
line in the movie where he's like, "You could have let this all go, but no, you had to put your
You had
thinking
to
cap
put
on."
Yeah, you had to put on your thinking cap. Yeah, it's
But yeah,
so good.
Oleana was like a early Mammoth watch for me when I was like getting into him, and I was like, oh, this one's not good.
Oh, it's icky, and it's like it's not even well made either. Like if even taking the politics of it aside, it's like really stagey. Like it's yeah. Ugh.
And Maria Bello as Natalie. Prior to this, her first movie, Permanent Midnight, which we did an episode on.
That's so weird. That's her first movie. I did not know that.
I know.
I forget that too.
Payback, and that's
Now, can we say Maria Bello, story by credit for we all know, The Woman King?
it's so weird. It's so weird. I realized that when I was
When I
researching.
saw that in the credits of The Woman King, I was like, surely it's just a different person named Maria Bello. But no, looked it up and nope.
No, she pitched. Viola Davis got some award, and Maria Bello introed her, and in the rigmarole of that night, basically was like,
she
hey.
reminds me of the story I've been wanting to write. Yeah.
No, she was like, there's this crazy story about the Agogi tribe, blah blah blah, what have you, and we should try to make it. And I think Viola Davis was like, okay, and Viola
Sounds
Davis
good.
I think was like, probably skeptical, but then I think who wrote, was it Dana Stevens wrote the script or Dana somebody, yeah, and then away we go, hit movie, funny.
Away we go. Also a
Maria
great
Bello.
movie.
Still need to see The Woman King.
Yeah, I still need to watch it. Payback
Pretty good.
is a movie that I've heard is actually good, and that I've heard I don't know
Love
which
Payback.
version
The
to
director's
watch.
cut. Yeah. I would say direct.
So
Dan?
Bryden, I know Bryden liked. I think you liked a Letterboxd update. I recently found and bought. You can buy a Blu-ray that has both versions, which I had been looking for, and I finally purchased. And I think, a rare person who I love both versions. They're very, 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 very
They are
different.
very different.
So I've seen the one I watched it on VHS. It was like the one where like the climax is like the son gets like the mobster son gets like kidnapped or whatever.
That's the
I've seen that one, but that's like I remember that one being like really fun. And then like I know like the what's the alternate title for the Payback other cut like it's
it's called, I think, Payback.
That's what it's called.
Straight up. Yeah.
But so they're both based on The Hunter, right, which is written by Richard Stark, which was the pen name for Donald E. Westlake, right, who's a famous crime writer. And The Hunter, that was made into what's the Lee Marvin movie that's very good from the
Point Blank.
Point
so
Blank.
good.
It's been made a few different times. Other Parker novels. Parker's the name of the character in the books.
Jason Statham, Parker, Jennifer Lopez. Good movie.
Film District. We'll cover it someday.
So
I will be on that episode.
So Porter is the name of Mel Gibson's character in the movie, and basically Brian Helgeland wrote and directed it. And what happened was like he's so mean in the book and in the director's cut that I think the studio was like, look, it can't be.
People
like
won't buy Mel Gibson being this mean.
Right,
It's still a
funny
pretty
now.
mean movie even in the theatrical cut. Like
it's me. He is
like
still
hitting
mean,
women
but
and using people as human shields. It's like crazy.
but he's
The
way worse
the
than
director's cut is nuts. Yeah.
Now, Dan, which cut
So-
of Margaret do you like better?
Oh shit! Big question.
I've seen. Have I seen both cuts? So Margaret was weird because I got to see. This is so random, but when that movie finally got released, they screened for the press the director's cut like twice.
Wow.
And I do not know why, because like the film stage was still pretty young. I don't know what. I got to go. It was like me and like 12 other people. Wow.
Damn.
And I saw that director's cut, and it was so weird because then the movie got like dumped, and then like years went by, and I remember I was like, "Yo, you don't even know there's like a director's cut of this movie that's like incredible, right?" But I think similarly, I think both versions are good. I prefer the director's cut.
Same,
But I think both versions are good.
They are, yeah.
Dan going to see the director's cut as a press screening of Margaret in a theater is Charlie's version of me wanting to go to Sundance when Blair Witch Project premiered.
Yeah, such a weird that's such a weird memory. I haven't thought about that in years. But that did happen. And then I have that Blu-ray
Same.
similar that has both.
Yeah.
But God, Margaret, that's a absolute masterpiece.
My favorite film of the 2010s.
That's a guy, right? He's made 3.
Yep.
I'd argue he's 3 masterpieces.
3 out of 3.
Yes,
3 for 3.
absolutely. Yep.
It's kind of crazy.
Speaking of movies in that tone, Maria Bello was also in Coyote Ugly, and
Which when I first apartment in New York, I lived across the street from Coyote.
holy shit!
Wow.
So you're saying
story.
it's a biography about when you moved to?
It's funny because it's not. I think it was the original because they became like a weird chain. But when I lived there, it was the one on First Ave in the East Village that I think was the one. Like in the movie, like they didn't shoot it in New York at all or whatever. It's like very much not in New York. But I think that's like what it's based on. I believe. Yeah, it's like what is it? Bridget Moynihan, Piper Perabo,
Tyra Banks.
Yeah.
Tyra Banks.
Melanie Linsky is in that, right?
Melanie,
Yes. Wow.
Is Melanie?
Yeah,
Linsky?
she's her best
Wow.
friend. She's Piper Parabo's like best friend who stays back home and gets married. Yeah.
I will say Coyote Ugly, directed by the director of Kangaroo Jack, which stars Estella Warren, which is in the cooler.
She is in the cooler. Yeah.
Yes. But let's see, what else do I got? After this, she's in Secret Window, of course. A History of Violence.
She should have won a fucking Oscar for that movie, and she wasn't even nominated. I don't understand how Maria Bello made all the right moves career-wise.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into it with
She
this
should have
one.
won an Oscar
too.
for this movie.
Yeah,
She's
she's
very
amazing.
good at this. Yeah.
I do not understand. She made all the right moves. Why does she not have a better career? Like,
Yeah.
And maybe that's her own choice. Maybe because I know she has a family now. Like it might not be it, but like even a history of
I
violence.
think it's probably more an industry thing.
Yeah, because
She got famous late, right? Like we talked about.
Yeah.
And I think
what's that TV show she did where she's wearing
she
the hat?
She did the
Suspect.
Prime Suspect American
Prime
remake.
Suspect. That's what it was.
And
yeah,
NCIS.
yeah.
She was
That
on
hat,
NCIS.
man.
Well, that's the choice, dude. That was what made Helen Mirren famous in Britain.
Does she wear a hat? In Prime,
I don't
in Prime
actually
Suspect?
know
UK?
if Helen Mirren. Let me look it up. I don't know.
I don't think. I think it was a real choice for her to be wearing a fedora.
Let's look it up.
Last thing about history of violence, and then I promise I'll get off of that, is I don't understand how that was one of the best reviewed films of the year. William Hurt got an Oscar nomination.
Hurt
seeing a
getting
hat.
the one
She
nomination.
got
yeah.
nothing, and she has the most. Yeah, she had the most difficult role in that movie, which is
For sure, yeah.
you know, the standard wife role, and like for her to subvert that and turn it into something.
She's got
so
the toughest
much more,
arc. Yeah.
Yeah, so complicated, doing graphic sex scenes where there's character development in the sex scenes that gets into some really dark, upsetting, like undertones there that is not exploitative towards her character and actually gives her agency. Like
She does incredible face acting in that final scene.
Oh,
like
that scene
it's-
is devastating. That's such a good movie. My gosh.
so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Guys, please, I have to bring up World Trade Center. Can we stay on topic? No. World Trade Center, the third Mummy movie, the certified B-side movie, The Private
Oh,
Lives
she
of
did
Pippa
replace
Lee.
Rachel Weisz in the third movie.
It all comes back around to
Yeah.
confidence.
It all comes
You say
back
the
around.
certified G-side
That's the
movie?
real connective tissue between Confidence and this movie is that they were both in Mummy movies.
Private Lives of Pippa Lee is a great movie.
It has 30,000 actors in it. Yeah.
Keanu.
It's got a great Keanu performance, actually.
Yeah, he's really good
I
in it.
forgot she's in both grown-up movies, Prisoners, and
I will
of course
say-
Lights Out.
Wouldn't it be great?
Oh, I forgot she was in Prisoners.
Yeah, because they didn't allow her to get out of bed. Like,
She was just grieving.
Such
Yeah,
a
yeah.
thankless role. Yeah.
So wouldn't it be great if? So you
Viola in Prisoners. That's interesting.
Viola and Prisoners. So wouldn't it be great if you got two Tomb of the Dragon Emperor actors are Oscar winners?
Yeah.
So can we work on getting Maria Bello and Jet Li an Oscar? Can that be our next
I'm all
goal
for that.
as citizens?
Why not?
Can that be our next? Those two up next, right?
Well, yeah,
Batter up.
they'll be in Expendables 4 together. There you go.
That's
That's
true.
That's Oscar bait.
Well,
That's Oscar bait.
Jet Li's going to get an honorary Oscar for The One, and when he's coming to the stage, Down with the Sickness by Disturbed is going to play, and it's going to be great. Let me get through this just real quick. Alec Baldwin plays Shelley. Prior to this, he is in, like we've talked about, Miami Blues, Glengarry Glen Ross, Malice, The Getaway. I'm just scrolling through here. Outside Providence, sure. And after this, like I said, Cat in the Hat, Along Came Polly, Aviator, the Dan Mecca classic Elizabethtown, and The Departed.
Yep.
Oh, and funny you mentioned Outside Providence. A not very good movie, but you know who plays his son in that movie? Sean Hannity from
Hannity.
The Cooler. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We did it.
We did it. He's in My Best Friend's Girl. Okay, trivia. According to the director's commentary, William H. Macy was given 3 suits to wear during the film. During scenes where his character was hapless and unlucky, he wore a suit that was 2 sizes too big, which I noticed that as soon as he comes on screen, I was like, sir, the cooler needs to go to the tailor. During scenes where his luck was starting to turn around, he wore a suit that was 1 size too big for him. After he falls in love and is extremely lucky, he wears a perfectly tailored suit. Also, as Bernie's luck improves, the lighting surrounding him gets brighter, and his shirt and tie goes from dark and subdued to bright and colorful. Dan, what do you keep sharing in the chat?
Sorry. Maria Bello's hats from Prime Suspect.
Okay, thank you so much. I will share that on the Twitter. William H. Macy said that when the film was shown in European film festivals, afterwards people mostly discussed the script and the characters. But when the film was shown at American film festivals, people mostly discussed how good Maria Bello looked in her nude scenes. Moving on, Alec Baldwin was cast specifically with the punching of the pregnant Charlene scene in mind, as the director said the viewers would have an easy time believing Alec is capable of such an act.
Holy shit. That's an
aged
insane thing.
great.
Yeah, I see that guy.
Well, yeah. That's hard to hear it, but also,
It's so funny. It's just like, you know what? When I look at you, I feel like you could punch a pregnant woman, and like you know,
That
and
person
he's just
saw,
like,
that person
"Thanks,
saw
man."
Miami Blues. That person.
The
saw
thing
it.
too is like he's not wrong.
I mean,
That makes me think of the quote that like Michael Mann I think wanted to cast like William Friedkin as in like was it Manhunter he said, and he said like to Friedkin like you seem like a crazy person. Friedkin was like
Yes,
I seem like a crazy person.
Yes.
Yeah.
The film originally got an NC-17 rating, was recut to achieve an R rating. The details of this, which I'm about to say, are also in the documentary, which is very good, called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated" from 2006. Check that out.
Oh right. Yes.
It was because the brief scene, I believe their
He goes
second.
down on her. Yeah.
Yes, and she's like being interviewed. She's like, it showed a fraction of my pubic hair, and it got an NC-17. What the fuck is this? She said, I agree with the director that the reason the scene had been cut out was not because of the pubic hair. Quote, the men I know who have seen it and who are not artists are terrified of that scene, and I think it's seeing my face having an orgasm, a real one, a complicated one, a woman deriving pleasure from that is very scary for a lot of people. It was actually William H. Macy's idea, Bello said with a grin. She explained that during the filming, she, Macy, and Kramer improvised the intense love scenes as they went along, asking each other, what does it look like when the two people have sex for the first time and then for a second time? It was for this second scene that, according to Bello, William H. Macy proclaimed, I think it's an intimate thing for a man to go down on a woman. Quote, that scared me, she said, to be that open and exposed. Bella said that it was the psychology that frightened her the most than the prospect of having been filmed. Her nudity caused some censorship problems in the U.S. A couple of scenes had to be removed as to not secure an NC-17, like I just said. But in the U.K., this was not even an issue, and the film easily secured a 15 certificate instead of the higher 18 rating. Of course. Here's the most IMDb-ass trivia I've ever seen. The word fuck is used 101 times in the film, and the running time is 101 minutes. Who the fuck? Who in the actual fuck is whatever?
Not to mention Running Scared also in that pantheon of the most amount of fucks
I was gonna
in any
say,
movie.
yeah, it's like a record breaker.
I was looking at the IMDb trivia for Confidence too, and it had the amount of fucks listed. It was like 106 or something in Confidence, which seemed like more
but
than
Confidence is not
I would expect for
106
Confidence.
minutes long.
But
So
that's
the thing.
and
It's
that's-
not
and
interesting.
also,
It's
that's
not interesting.
A lot of that's Eddie Burns talking about B&H. So it's like it's hard.
history of B&H.
It's hard to know. It's like this lens isn't fucking correct.
Two more trivia facts real quick. According to the director's commentary, the scene where Shelley breaks Larry's arm had to be reshot. Director Wayne Kramer said that the scene was out of focus. After having reviewed the footage, they had to reshoot the scene, but actor Ron Livingston was already back in Los Angeles. Livingston flew back to Reno, Nevada just to reshoot that one scene. I feel like you could have cut around. I mean, what was he on Sex and the City at this time? It's not like he was that busy.
Isn't
Well,
Ron Livingston? Didn't
Livingston?
Ron Livingston also sue Wikipedia for people like editing it to say he was
Is that
gay
true?
or something?
Really?
Like, no, I'm not even kidding. Like,
I've never heard of
it was just
that.
like, how do you sue Wikipedia? Like,
It's like you
I'm gonna
allowed
Google
this.
Well, David. Well, it is. You can email David Wikipedia. That is.
Mr. Wikipedia is actually my
He said,
father.
hi, David.
Sorry, guys. I just Googled it, and I Googled Ron Livingston sued Wikipedia, and the first thing that came up is a Hollywood Reporter article from 2009 that said why Ron Livingston didn't sue Wikipedia.
I was lied
Charlie
to.
got his
God
ass
damn it.
snoped. Oh no.
Apparently.
And lastly, when Buddy is discovered dead in his room, the movie playing on his TV is a movie called Lost Horizon from 1937, my bad. A film about the mystical land of Shangri-La, also the name of the casino. Isn't that cute? Bryden, did you have something to say?
Sorry, I have my train of thought just like completely. Oh, well, I think it was like the Livingston arm break. I was like hoping they were gonna show it at the end where like he's like they show Livingston's character at the table like with the other people, and I'm thinking like is he gonna have like the cast on? And Nate raises his hand to drink. I was like, yes, he still has the cast on like from the program. I just thought that was like a funny detail to like have just sort of like in there. Yeah.
Do you know what I do at the Shangri-La?
You're cooler. You turn winners into losers.
Some people are born lucky.
Yes. Tell Bernie to get over to table 6.
Bernie is not one of them.
People get next to me, their luck turns.
This is one of your coolers?
He's the best.
Better luck next time.
I was best.
Do you know how I do that?
Listen, I know there's a lot of stuff that happens in casinos all the
I
time.
do it by being myself.
I've never met anyone who was so down on themselves.
But for a guy who's been a loser all his life,
Can't breathe here anymore. Where were you gonna go, Bernie? That's better than here.
everything
Buy you a drink?
is about to change.
You want to go back to your place?
You want to tell me what's going on out there? We're down almost $1 million out there. Doesn't that seem strange to you?
She loves me. Should I get her flowers or candy?
What is happening to you?
Get ready to experience
I love the schmuck.
What is there to love?
the year's most improbable love story.
You were out of his life.
I don't think I can do that.
This is our time. This is you and me.
William H. Macy.
You look in the mirror. You don't like what you see? Look in my eyes. I am the only mirror you're ever gonna need.
Maria Bello.
You blindsided me. I love you.
And Alec Baldwin.
Best cooler there ever was, and I need him back.
He ain't never coming back.
That is a dead man talking.
The Cooler.
Everything's different now. I got Lady Luck on my side.
Okay. Initial thoughts. Let's go in reverse of what we did last time. So, I think am I the only person who had never seen this movie prior?
I hadn't either.
Okay, so it's me and Charlie. Okay. Dan, initial thoughts for Secula.
Sure. Yeah, I always have liked this movie. I think I must have seen it. That was around the time I was getting into like Oscar movies and the entertainment. Entertainment Weekly would have a list of like who would probably get nominated, and I think I watched it then. I think I always mention this on my podcast. My mom would always rent these movies, and even I wasn't that young, but like. I'm sure I watched it after she did, later on at night, and was like scandalized by the sex scene, even at that age. I think it's interesting though, like rewatching it. Of course, that character would go down on Maria Bello, right? I mean, he's so thankful that she even like gave him the time of day, right? He would be the type of, lovely, considerate person who would think to do that early on, right? I think that's a really smart, character consideration by William H. Macy, actually, and I think it like adds a lot to the movie, as a matter of fact. But yeah, I was really just reminded and struck by how great Baldwin is in this movie. Like, God, he's like it's like it should be such a silly kind of stereotypical performance, and it's really not. It's like very kind of not that, which is fascinating. And then Bello and Macy are incredible. It's kind of wild Baldwin was the only nomination when you think about it.
I'm almost also just I don't remember this Oscar time. I was like 11 or 12. It's just, it seems wild, this movie. It's just like when it's a movie that only gets like one nomination, where it's just like we don't care really about anything else, but this performance is unimpeachable. It's like, this one, really? Like, not even saying it's bad. It's just wild.
I will also say, regardless if you got nominated or not, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King won like 11 or 12 Oscars. Yeah. So it's almost like a it doesn't matter kind of year. Also.
Well, yes, but no acting.
No acting.
No acting. It was Charlize Theron for Monster, Sean Penn and Tim Robbins for Mystic River, and Renee Zellweger for Cold Mountain. And took everything else.
Me and Mitchell, we were DMing about the nominees, where I was like, I was sending him both the leads and the supporting for actress, and I was like, Maria couldn't have slid into either of those.
I know.
However, they campaigned.
And the thing is, too, she got a Golden Globe nod and a SAG nod for supporting actress.
Snub.
She was like, it was exactly a legit snub.
Yeah, because we were
crazy.
I'm gonna pull up the other noms while you guys talk,
because it was like, what was it? Like Marcia Gay Harden.
So it was
like, again, like, what, she didn't have a bunch of precursors, and like she was kind of the one that like snuck in.
She is really good in Mystic River, though. To be fair, I think
she is good. Yeah.
Empathetic character.
Well, you're just saying that because you're from Boston, Charlie. No.
So Renee pulled
Renee won. Shora Asdashlu for
fantastic
House
performance.
of Santa Fod, which. She
great
probably should have won, actually. She's really
for
good.
Sure.
Yeah, that scene where she tells Jennifer Connelly that they'll shoot her children is just devastating.
That's a good performance. Patricia Clarkson for Pieces of April, which
that's so weird.
That's inspired though.
It's an interesting one because she's so much better in The Station Agent, I think. And The Station Agent, one of those movies that got a SAG ensemble nod. It got a bunch of SAG nods and didn't get a single Oscar nomination. I think she's better in that.
Did Pieces of April get like a best cinematography? That beautiful DV. It's the only reason I watched that movie.
Dad.
What?
And then
Peter
Peter
Hedges.
Hedges.
Oh,
Peter
wow.
Hedges.
Continue.
Peter, Dan in real life Hedges.
Good movie.
Shut the fuck up.
Also, I haven't seen Cold Mountain, so I can't say, but like I'm kind of amazed.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I've heard like,
Interesting
but all the
movie, yeah.
clips I've seen of Renee Zellweger, I'm kind of like, how is she not like being like imitated by drag queens at this point, based on that?
Yeah, it's a
footage?
very.
I mean, it is one of those like very like maligned like winning performances where she just like went like because it was like Bridget Jones in 2001 she got nominated, Chicago in 2002 she got nominated, and then it feels like it kind of has a reputation of like one of those ones where she's like, what do I have to do to get a win? Like, let me just go as big as humanly possible.
That clip of her being like, they make the weather outside and then they say, shit, it's raining. I saw like a million times back.
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
day.
That was the
Like,
clip.
that's-
That was the
yep,
clip.
That was the clip.
Yep.
And then Marcia Gay, obviously from Mystic River, and then this is the one you could probably lose. I hate to say it, but Holly Hunter in 13.
I mean, that's maybe that movie is kind of bad. She's the best part of that movie.
Sure.
She's so good in that movie.
I think Bello. I think I give
Jeremy
Bello the
Sisto
nod.
was in it, but sure, she's the best, I guess.
No, but like, that's actually not a bad lineup. But I agree, you could swap one of those out for Maria Bello in it.
Now here's the thing.
Absolutely.
Could we
justified.
retroactively get an Oscar not for Maria Bello but for her hat from The Prime Suspect?
Can we do it? Can we make it happen?
I think we
Best
could
hat?
try to do it.
Best hat?
Best hat.
And the award for best haberdashery goes to she was the only one nominated. It's Maria Bello. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think I'm definitely curious to hear what all y'all have to say. But I think, yeah, Charlize Theron, Keisha Castle-Hughes, Diane Keaton for Something's Got to Give, Samantha Morton, and Naomi Watts. You can
Those
probably,
aren't bad noms.
but you could probably swap out Watts, right? Not 21 grams.
I mean, she's okay. I 21 grams. I loved
We love
in
a-
high school.
we love a
and
Watts. We love
and
a
I've
Watts.
and I love Naomi Watts, but I've turned so cold on Inarritu that is one of those movies where I'm like, I'm sure if I watched this now, it would just be. Like
I would
flat
see.
out
I would
misery
make the
porn.
argument. I would, if you could go back. You give Bello this nom, and then you give Watts a nom for King Kong. I think she's kind of great in King
She's
Kong.
great.
She's
King
she's
Kong.
phenomenal in King Kong,
know?
which is a fantastic movie.
So,
Yes.
She was in
I-
Shut
That's
In,
what I would
but
do.
sure.
Yeah, Shut In too.
And I forgot
Yeah.
Samantha Morton was nominated because
The Wolf
In
House?
America is so good. I
Yeah,
forgot. about
yeah,
that.
you gotta
she's-
give
she's
more in the.
great. And but like once Roger Ebert, I specifically remember Roger Ebert talking about Monster, and I'd never heard of it before. But like he made such a bold declaration of like, if they don't give her Best Actress, they might as well cancel the awards. It was like she was unstoppable ever since.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he-
Oh,
yeah. Like
There was no way that anybody other than her was going to win that. I don't think that's a particularly good performance personally, but I mean, it's one of those ones where like the second people started seeing it, it's kind of unstoppable.
Yeah, it's a fine movie with a great performance, but I definitely, I mean, it ends with "Don't Stop Believing." But
I was literally gonna say that is
Ricci's
the worst
great.
part of that movie is the end credits song. Like, why would you do
yeah.
that?
Oh God, I was in the closet though, and that movie meant so much to me. It's another one I'm afraid to go back and be like, it's not as good as you remember, but like it meant a lot to me back in the day.
Yeah.
It is crazy that
topic.
It's crazy that Ricci wasn't nominated.
She's
so
very good.
good.
She's
Yeah.
really good.
She's really
Ricci,
good at it.
pretty much
And Ricci,
always good.
And Ricci's never been nominated.
That's nuts. Not even for the opposite of sex. That's wild. Mitchell, initial thoughts for the cooler.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one, as I said on the Confidence episode, I hadn't seen Confidence, but you know, you showed me the pairings of ones that you were pitching out for this series, and I saw the cooler, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch Confidence so I can do a cooler episode. This was like sort of similar.
And little
for
did I
Dan.
know, I thought the opposite, but I didn't even need to be here.
Can you do Confidence with the cooler? It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Ayo.
Sorry, that was so sweaty. Cut that out.
Yeah, but similar to Dan, this was like the year that I sort of started getting into like Oscars, which was like I was really into Lord of the Rings, and then like so Lord of the Rings kind of gatewayed me into Oscars because Lord of the Rings got me into like reading Entertainment Weekly and stuff, and then reading Entertainment Weekly got me into like the Oscars and everything, and so I started following this stuff and wanting to watch all the movies and everything, and so I watched this not really knowing like what it was, but really taking to it immediately, and going back and rewatching it now, I have an even deeper appreciation for it. I think I just love like these sort of like movies about like low level gamblers who are like seeped in like alcohol and like cigarette smoke, and it feels like you're like watching a movie that feels like Last Call at the bar, when like only like the sad saps who are like looking for some sort of connection or reason to live are there. Like it reminds me of something like Hard Eight, obviously sort of like an easy comparison. Or, like,
aren't you a fan of that Clive Owen gambling movie? What's it called?
Croupier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Owning Mahoney with Philip Seymour Hoffman is really good. California Split, like stuff like that.
I am imagining now William H. Macy getting drunk at the bar in Magnolia, just watching the Cooler on TV.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like similar to you guys doing Panic. Like, this is such a William H. Macy character, and it's like, I don't know how that feels as a person to like have like the saddest dudes like be like quintessential characters for you as an actor.
Be like, remember that one movie where William H. Macy said like "I'm sorry" a lot? It's just like, which one, man?
Where William H. Macy walked around for the entire movie looking like he wanted to blow his fucking brains out. Like,
well, the Boogie Nights, he basically only says "that's my wife," and then does so
more than walks around looking like he wants to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like it has sort of like a neo-noir sort of crime element to it, but like it's very character driven. Like him and Bello's relationship is really touching. The Baldwin character, as Dan mentioned, is like has a lot more dimension to it than you would expect. And I just, as you guys were saying, I think Kramer brings a really interesting like formal choice to this movie. Like there's a split diopter shot like 2/3 of the way into the movie that's just Bello and Macy having a conversation where Bello is like revealing, some hidden truths to him, and like you don't have to do that at like a split diopter. Like you can do that in like a 1:2, but the fact that it's like shot that way gets you to capture both of the emotions that like the very separate emotional journeys that both of these characters are going through in the scene. And I just think there's a lot of moments like that where Kramer is bringing a really interesting stylistic choices to it that he didn't have to do because the movie could have played out very straightforward without it. And so it's like little stuff like that I think also elevates it beyond just being like a more boilerplate sort of like indie, gambling movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go from reverse order of the Cooler, I think. Charlie, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, mirroring exactly what you said, Mitchell. It's like I hadn't seen this, but I think I was out of the room, but I specifically remember hearing about it from Ebert and Roper, and then also I don't know if we mentioned this explicitly, but Maria Bello talking about it on the Kirby Dick documentary, This Film Is Not Yet Rated, where they were talking about, So that's really all I knew, apart from the simple premise, and I hinted at this, or didn't hint, I said earlier that I thought, I was just expecting this to be kind of bland, just based on how many small little indies there were in 2000, and just kind of lumped it unfairly into that's probably fine canon. And it's better than I thought it was going to be. And yeah, I mean, I've already praised Maria Bello enough, but I really think we all knew William H. Macy could play great sad sacks, whether they're empathetic sad sacks or shit sad sacks like Fargo. So he's really good. It wasn't necessarily surprising to me. Maria Bello being great, not surprising to me. What was surprising to me was how much that character could have been so much more underwritten. And
yeah,
I think that even though there is a scene of, her getting horribly abused, which stung, it is, I think she is not even the secret weapon. I think she's just genuinely the reason this movie's heart it works so well. I mean, like, that character could be, because we've seen so many movies where it's just like, oh, I'm so sad, and then they find the love of their life, and it's just like, okay,
this old manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Dan,
like,
I swear to God, if you send another picture, and he did, ladies and gents and folks.
But there are, as you mentioned, Mitchell, scenes of her being vulnerable, and also scenes of her being like, I think I'm in love with you, and I don't think I know I'm in love with you. I think she explicitly says, and you totally buy it. And usually when there are these types of movies, it feels very contrived, but she's such a naturalistic presence, and she's such a goddamn great actress that I think she's the reason that this movie ultimately worked for me. And Baldwin, obviously great, very, very good. And I, again, like, I feel like I'm just mirroring what you're saying, Mitchell and Dan. But the stylistic choices, I did not expect, as you said, split diopter shots. The way the way he knows where to place the camera at all times, even bold screenplay choices. I don't know if we're gonna go through a plot synopsis, but the final moment, I could see a lot of people being like, "Oh, what bullshit," and I was actually like, "This rules."
Well,
like
I liked how I always appreciate movies like this where, like, him being a cooler is just a fact, right? So like the weird, like Baldwin's weird like belief in this like old mythos, the casino's on Fremont Street, it's not on the Strip, all these things like. But the fact that he is a cooler is never in doubt, right? Like he is a cooler, right? And the minute his luck turns, he's no longer a cooler. And so like all of the stuff that happens at the end, right? The Deus Ex, drunk driver and everything, it fits. Wayne Kramer's
Deus
telling you
Ex
that the whole
drunk
time. He's basically setting you up for that, where it's like, this is that movie, right? And it's like, it's basically like a small sci-fi, except it's not sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's like small fantasy or something, right?
And to be,
It's like magical realist and like a very
without any,
distinct way.
without any sort of.
And to be fair, that sort of stuff does happen more often. My aunt and uncle got pulled over once and have a story about how they got pulled over, and then as soon as they got pulled over, the cop walked over to their window and someone clipped the cop with their side view mirror, and the cop was like, "You know what? You can go. I have to go chase after that fucker." Like,
wow, that's crazy.
And that cop was MC Rainey. Yes.
And it's funny who we'll be talking about when we talk about Wonderland, because he's in that too.
Of course he is.
Yeah. But it's also fitting with like the ending of the movie is fitting with the ethos of the movie, where it's like one person's fortune is another person's downfall. So like, basically having good luck just fucks up this casino and everything, and then like it also like basically like his former partner getting killed and like this cop getting killed. I mean, like I feel like it is like, even though it does provide a happy ending, it is very cynical in its own way, which I think is funny.
Somebody always has to have the bad luck. So
Well,
it's like, if Macy isn't that guy anymore,
and actually,
he's on to somebody else.
Can I say one thing that actually bummed me out? I really like the movie, but so at the end of the movie, right? Macy's trying to make the $150,000 so he can be free and clear, and he's at the craps table.
Alec Baldwin can see his skeleton. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but here's what I'm saying. So at this point in the movie, Baldwin is a dead man walking, right? He's broken Ron Livingston's hand. He's literally like said fuck you to all the mobsters who he works for, and he doesn't want to make all these changes to the casino.
Robert De Niro walks into a car and it blows up.
Very much.
I don't know if it's supposed to look like it's a dummy. We don't know.
Very ace. Yeah, very Ace Rothstein. And so, but what I had always remembered, and then I was bummed to realize they don't do this, and I wish they had, is Baldwin, right? Macy's on a streak at the craps table, and then Baldwin walks up and Macy rolls the dice and it like stumbles like twice. And so what the movie is setting up is, now Baldwin's the cooler, right? Because and then what I always remembered happening in my mind in the movie is Baldwin knowingly turns away from the table right before Macy rolls and then wins, right? That would have been cool, right? Because that would have been Baldwin knowing what he was doing, but also wanting Macy to succeed ultimately, because he tells Livingston, that's why he breaks Livingston's hand, right? He's like, no, we're going to let him, make his money. It would have been so cool if Baldwin walked away from the table. You don't think Kevin's like shaking?
No, we keep saying cool, and it's just making me shake my head. I'm sorry.
I like that move, though. I never would have thought about Baldwin becoming cool. Yeah. That would have been funny too if that had been like, hey,
because then I think, and and honestly, maybe it seems like Wayne Kramer is intending that because of the way they set it up, and then maybe in the editing room they just make the decision of like the reveal, right? Because then it hard cuts. So maybe that's just dramatically better, right? Like where then he walks out, Maria Bello doesn't know what happened, and they're driving, and then it's like, and maybe it's better for the character where like it doesn't matter if he won the money, they're leaving anyway, and Maria Bello doesn't care either way, and that's probably more important. And so you maybe get into the minutia of like what makes a movie work or not. But I always loved that idea of Baldwin becoming the cooler, and the movie kind of doesn't land that, but it's okay. But I like had remembered that it did. But anyway, yeah.
That's a really cool idea. Yeah, I never would have put that together. But
Yeah.
I mean, you should write movies or something.
Hey, we'll see. we're trying. We're trying.
I'll just do my quick thoughts. Both of these movies we cover have a lot of green in them. That hotel is like, it looks like the insides of Shrek. Like,
Sorry, is that what are green Twinkies? Is that?
well, yes. There's like a bar that they're in Confidence where like the walls are like the grossest green I've ever seen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the only take I have. These movies are green.
Well, you know what's funny? In Confidence, not to bring it back to Confidence, they're in that one like restaurant, and on the commentary, Foley's like, yeah, we wanted to keep the aesthetic the same, so we threw up the gels and we just let them show up. And so it's like kind of insane, actually. Like, just from a filmmaking point of view, like watching the movie, like because when you shoot in a real place, right? What you have to always basically do with storefront windows is you have to put something called ND on the windows, because it literally cuts the sunlight, because sunlight's way more powerful than any light that you can bring in, most lights that you can bring in with your crew. So like if you watch, for example, if you watch that movie Margin Call, they shot that movie in a real skyscraper because it was an independent small movie, and every single window you see in that whole movie, there's ND on on those windows. And so like that's an incredibly arduous, annoying thing to do. Anyway, so it's just a gel, right? But the fact that Foley was just like, don't put ND on the windows, put the green gel on the windows, and we'll just see it. And that'll just be like, this restaurant has a weird green tint to it. And I do kind of love that he did that, but it's a little funny. It's like, yeah.
I have worms in my brain, so I just had that random thought of, what if Rachel Weisz dyed her hair green in Confidence, and they're all like, we're fucked.
Green's bad
a lot
luck.
better movie,
Top
I think.
three,
a lot less offensive.
Top three worst women with green hair. Okay, number 3. Yeah.
No, you literally have Eddie Burns reading Green Eggs and Ham or something, and he opens the thing.
I mean, that would explain the rhyming opening line. It would just be the whole movie.
Why would you dye your hair green? I asked you not to do that. Why would you do that?
I do not want green eggs and ham.
This is not a proud moment for me right now. I need you to know that. Amanda. That first scene of The Holiday, I will say, when she gets kicked out and Cameron Diaz, or when he gets kicked out and Cameron Diaz is like, just tell me if you slept with her. And then he turns to the gardener, and the gardener like shakes his head. That's a funny moment. And then he's like, yeah, she's in love with me. What can I tell you? I'm in The Holiday. What?
Is that the first hour of that 9-hour movie?
It's the second hour.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the cooler, very green. You're very right about that.
Yeah, that's all my opinion, actually. No,
definitely captures that the acid tones of LA. I will say this, Vegas. Have we all been to Vegas?
No.
I've never been to Vegas.
No, nobody else has been to Vegas.
Just Daniel Mecca.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so
the king of Vegas himself.
So I will say this about the cooler. And I actually haven't been to Fremont, so I don't know that part. That's like old Vegas, right? Which is obviously a big part of this movie.
Las Vegas.
Oh shit! Oh my god.
That's why he went
Las
to
Vegas. Episode starts right now.
I will say, I've been there a few times. I've never been a big fan. And the feeling I get when I'm there in these types of places, right? These like casino scenarios. This movie really captures, like, in a way where rewatching it, I was kind of like, wow, this is like exactly what it feels like, which is like when you're in those places, and some people love it, and I do not begrudge anybody that. It really feels, when you're there, it really feels like the worst thing about America. Like you're in this place and you're literally like, it feels desperate, it feels sad, it feels like just, why am I here? The air is all recycled, there's no windows, all the colors are off, right? The lights never go down, everything smells like smoke, right? All these things. And you're just like, this is hell. This is hell. Like, I'm in hell right now. And I think The Cooler does a good job of kind of like capturing that thing of like, you could also love it, but that like tired desperation, you really feel it in the off green, right? In the kind of the like broken film stock, like all these things in that movie are like the soundtrack. It reminded me a lot of.
Very good.
It reminded me a lot of Leaving Las Vegas has a lot of that, where it's like it's very decrepit, you know. And I think, yeah, if you ever go, just remember I said that.
If you ever go, don't.
Is this going to be our first almost major field trip? Like,
Yeah.
Let's go to Vegas and feel bad about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Dan said it was the worst place in America, so we all
I watched The Cooler and Showgirls, and I was like, that seems like a great place. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Showgirls is a different, but also has a little bit of that for sure. Yeah.
Macy says it in the movie where he's like, I want to move to a place where I can tell day from night, where I can look at a fucking clock, you know.
Yeah, so much of the movie is just
there are
taking
no
place
clocks.
indoors, which is like, it is hiding you from that. Yeah, it's very...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maria Bello also very explicitly mentions like, this is just like a pit stop for me until I like make more money. So like nobody's settled there.
It is. I would be shocked if anyone, even if you loved it there. It's very purgatorial. Like Vegas is it feels very like purgatorial. Like you feel like, what am I doing here? Like my thing is like, you can have fun, but like after 2 days, you're literally like, I must leave this place. Like I must go from here. Like it's like,
and that's definitely like part of the sadness like seeped into a lot, like
Sure.
these characters, especially Macy and Bello. They have that, like they have these backstories. They have these like, I want to get out. Like Macy, you know, is doing the whole run of like, this is his last week doing this job or whatever. Bello came to do a different thing, kind of got locked into it, and it does feel like people who are trapped and like just can't get out. And like this was
that's
never
another smart
where
thing.
they wanted to end up.
Another smart thing this movie does. We're talking about Charlie. You were mentioning the screenplay. You putting a ticking clock on it is smart.
Oh,
Not enough movies do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a secret cheat code that like I feel like a lot of writers have forgotten about. It's like, yeah, put a clock on your movie, because like it offers so much for the
And
viewer,
then you also
right?
know like that all what we're seeing is taking place in a condensed period of time, which adds an
Yes.
element to it as well.
And look, whether or not you ever believe him, and you don't, but like
yeah, you definitely
it
don't
still
believe him,
adds
but
an element of tension.
Along with that desperation of them wanting to leave so badly, but whenever they say they can't, it makes total sense.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
Yeah. I'll just say that I think this movie's fine. Bryden, initial thoughts?
Fine, this guy. Love it.
I was gonna say, I don't know. I think this could have been better if it was a 10-episode miniseries, each episode an hour long. That would have been no. I'm joking.
William H. Macy has to kill the president by the end of it. Yeah. Just 24 all over again.
Wait, Bush was president when this was made.
There's
That's fine with me.
There's a flashback
Jesus.
episode all about
and now
Paul
we're on a
Sorvino.
government watch list. Do not include this. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, and when we do Newmarket, we're going to do Death of a President, so they're really going to be watching us. Yeah. Please, Brian, continue.
Yeah, no. So I saw this. It's fine. So I saw this in high school. I think it was like one of those movies that had a reputation for being like, you know, the controversial thing with like the NC-17 rating. I know Ebert was a big fan of it. And I know Richard Roper liked it.
Our beautiful perv Ebert. I love pervy Rob.
Yeah, I mean, he talked too about how like not just like the Bello whole place in the sex scene, but also how William H. Macy, I think, told Ebert at Sundance, saying like, I've been waiting to get in shape to do a sex scene in movies for all these years, and now they're gonna cut it out of the movie. What's that about? Like, I just think that's really funny.
That's funny. That is.
Yeah,
funny.
and that's honestly like kind of like thinking about like both characters and how they factor into the relationship. I think that's why the movie is so good. Is it's not just like this woman who is dropping everything to serve this like thwarted dork and everything. Like it is like you understand why she falls for him too, because like there's a whole, I mean, it's a scene where they go to the carnival and she like, and there's a really, I mean, you almost don't need like her to say that she had a kid and anything, because like the reverse shot of like her having like the successive
watching the kid,
closer shots of her watching the kid, and then she says, you know, she had this like really sad story and everything, and then William H. Macy just like taking her kindly and like saying like, I think I can beat you, whip your ass at like this ring game or whatever the carnival game is, and it's just like that's like the perfect thing to say to someone when they've like just like told you like something really vulnerable about themselves, and then like the scene that they have with him going down on her, like that is it is like so much more. I can understand, I guess, maybe why people would be, maybe they're just not used to seeing those positions in movies and everything in like a mainstream movie, but also like it is like so intimate and everything, like where it is just holding on her face for so long, like it is, and it is very moving in that own way, and also like the sex is like funny too, but like where it's kind of like they're fumbling about, like that is like a thing that like
it feels like real sex,
totally,
you know, as opposed
well,
to
I think that's
sex.
I mean, look, as we're recording, you know, Karina Longworth has this new season of her, you know, You Must Remember This, erotic 90s films, and she goes into a lot of detail about the NC-17 rating and replacing the X rating, and literally a lot of detail about this exact topic, which is, you know, fellatio when a man is doing it to a woman being like very much, you know, way more forbidden from a censorship, you know, scenario than the opposite, right? And so, you know, there's a million examples, and even to the point where even on Karina came on our show, and we talked about how the poster for Jade implies that she's getting, you know, eaten out, right? And that it was very controversial in 1996 or 95 that was happening, right? Or 96, and then it all leads to the whole Blue Valentine thing. Right, which you know, look, Weinstein, you know, devil, devil on earth, obviously, but that dude made his bones winning those battles, right? Because that was so much of the promotion from Blue Valentine came from him fighting the ratings board for that scene where Ryan Gosling goes down on Michelle Williams, and they got the R rating. You know, they won
on appeal.
It also has to do with not even like the nudity, but so much like of Maria Bello's face receiving
the pleasure.
It's so female pleasure.
It's all female. It's all female pleasure, because Kimberly Pierce had the same issue with Boys Don't Cry, where they were like the close up on Chloe Sevigny's face is too long, and Kimberly Pierce was like, "So I can literally murder my character graphically, and you have no problem." But
I mean, close-up that's not the only graphic scene in the movie, or not movie.
No. But like, but
sure.
But I mean, it speaks to like it speaks to this, where like they have a scene of Alec Baldwin beating the shit out of Maria Bello, and like there's no objection to that, but like her having an orgasm is an issue for some reason.
But I'm a Cheerleader, I think, was another one which we're gonna cover on this show. But Jamie Babbitt talked about how like she got an NC-17 for Natasha Lyonne literally masturbating like pants over her underwear, like her hand isn't even inserted into her underwear. And then she went, after she got the NC-17, she went and saw a trailer for American Pie, which has the implication of Jason Biggs fucking the pie, and she was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like
that's crazy.
But how many thrusts into the pie were shown? I think they talked about that.
But she was like, even in the trailer they imply that, and that was allowed to be shown before PG-13 movies. It's insane, the hypocrisy.
Have you guys seen
American Pie? Yes.
Have you guys seen Jamie Babbitt's second movie, The Quiet?
The Quiet?
Oh, I'm gonna.
Oh my God.
That movie.
Insane.
We briefly talked about Twisted in the other episode, and
I will be watching.
The Quiet is like, oh my God, dude,
it's
that movie.
Wild. It's deeply disturbing and upsetting. Like,
whoa, that movie's great.
Great.
Mitchell, have you seen The
Quiet? One star from Charlie on Letterboxd.
Mitchell,
The Quiet. I haven't seen it. I'm adding it to my watch list right now.
I will also say I saw that movie before I saw But I'm a Cheerleader, and we're gonna cover But I'm a Cheerleader, and I'm gonna go back and watch The Quiet. The Suspense is Killing Us recently covered it, and they were also like, this is even Matt Lynch was like, this movie, I'm usually like impervious to stuff like this. This one like wigged me out. Like even Matt Lynch was like, this one was too gross even for me.
Here's the blood pack. We all put our thumbs up to the camera. We're all watching Quiet after this.
Yeah. Well, you brought that up. It's like, who's watching The Quiet? It's Jamie Babbitt research for Almost Betrayed. And I was like, oh, I'll leave that to Kevin.
Doing the Lord's work.
I just logged it. I realized I never logged The Quiet.
Oh wow. and now your life is complete. Yeah.
Elisha.
Now you're on the
Cuthbert.
pro version of Letterboxd for everybody who's logged the quiet. Yes. Brian, do you have any more initial thoughts?
Yeah. No.
Go ahead.
What was I saying? Yeah, no, I like, and yeah, it is like making the Vegas. I was sort of worried watching the movie where like it's Baldwin talk about like raging against like Livingston's like idea of like a new Vegas and everything, where it's like all this like phony shit, like a mantra that like that's supposedly slowed down. It's like repeating the mantra of lose to the players, but then like I do think like the key bit near the end or in the middle of the movie where he takes William H. Macy's estranged son, played by Sean Hannity, and like beats him senseless and like, shatters his kneecaps and like beats up his, not his girlfriend is not actually pregnant or anything, but it's still beating a woman, so it's terrible. Like it is, and I think what's so good about like Kramer's shot choices are so good, where he cuts to Livingston flinching at that. Like that is like an interesting moment of humanity where he's like, oh, like this is like not what I was expecting. And Ebert made a really good point in his review about how like the performances by the guys who play like the henchmen to Baldwin are like so conflicted and everything, and I mean it's the one guy who like when he sees like the pillow under like the girl's stomach and everything, he like looks shocked and everything, but then like Baldwin starts doing like a bit where he's like, it's a boy, and like I mean the way he's like being so jovial and like flip about it is like what makes the Baldwin performance so scary. But like then the guy like starts forcing himself to laugh just so like he won't stick out as much. Like
I was
such good character shit there. Like it's
even Running Scared has a scene that I was like, oh come on, this is too much, where Cameron Bright is watching someone assault a sex worker physically, and it's like really in her face, and I was just like, oh god, like maybe like I was being too kind about this scene in the cooler. But even in Running Scared, while I think that does go a little too far, at least that also results in the sex worker, Cameron Bright, distracting her, and then the sex worker, or distracting the assaulter, and then the sex worker ends up beating the shit out of the guy beating up her, and is like, come on kid, you're coming with me. And I'm just like, oh wow, okay, like that was better than I was expecting, at least. Like I not saying that it was okay in the way it was filmed in Running Scared, but I was just like, okay, he always knows how to upset me and then kind of make it not as bad as I was thinking. I don't know, I don't know, that sounds kind of terrible.
I mean the thing about Running Scared that's different is that movie is just like so heightened and like so like whereas like this movie is like trying to, the cooler is like in a little bit more of like a sensitive like character focused key and everything. And like I said, like it is funny watching this movie and like seeing like the possibly over the top traits that Wayne Kramer would use to make himself the kind of filmmaker he is now. I guess
Pawn Shop Confessional,
but like no, is like good stuff. Like I think like the way like it's just like it's like kind of like the teal lighting and like that whole scene where like they're just taking Hannity into the back room is like really like a striking contrast to like the sort of like reddish sort of like golden colors, I guess, to like the Vegas casinos. Really, and I like the Mark Isham score too. Like it's very got like it really fits the melancholy vibe with like the, even though it's like kind of cheesy saxophone music, it does like fit the tone of the movie.
It's film noir-esque.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Perfectly. It tonally fits.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And which one of you said it was like kind of like a neo noir sort of thing? I did. Yeah. I like that, and again, it's like sort of the hopefulness of the movie and everything. How Maria Bello's character, it's revealed that she was like hired out to sort of, I guess like for like somewhat duplicitous reasons.
Yeah, she's a femme fatale.
Yeah, but then it's like, but then she
it,
works against that, and it's like really, it's and you buy
There's
the movie.
such humanity to it.
Exactly. It's. I mean, there's definitely like things that like this isn't quite the movie that I remember like loving when I was in high school, or even like really liking, but like there's like all like the grace notes and the character interactions, it does like have a really good like sense of place and character and history to it. And I think it's very solid and definitely worthy of checking out. I think it's streaming on some places. Like I think in Canada you can watch it on CTV Watch or Tubi, so check it out.
I watched it on a DVD that looked like moldy milk from 5 years ago. It looked god awful.
So it worked perfectly for the rotten Las Vegas vibe, perhaps?
It looked like I was looking through like 3 glasses of milk trying to watch this movie. That's how bad it looked.
Good poster for this movie. The neon William H. Macy.
Yeah.
It's a good poster.
Why didn't they use that for the DVD? Because wasn't the DVD just like William H. Macy standing there and like Maria Bello giving him a
Isn't it kind of like a Dutch angle too? Like it's like they're on a tilt. It's so weird.
It's real ugly, yeah. But the poster, the actual poster, is really sick. I like, Bryden, that you mentioned the reveal of her like initial motives, because I feel like that is a really good scene. It's really unique. Yeah. Kevin's holding the Cooler DVD cover, which is awful. But yeah, I think that reveal is really telling about like the sensitivity of this movie, because it is a moment where like other movies would play that as like this huge betrayal, and like he would get really mad or even like lash out or even yell at her, and he doesn't. Like, he completely understands and is still like has the feelings that he has for her, and it doesn't even feel like a big, betrayal necessarily. He gets it, and he gets, because he's doing a similar thing in his own way of like, he's locked into this thing where like he's still partnering with this dude who abused him and crippled him for his entire life, but he still just feels like beholden to this station in life the same way that she does. So her revealing that almost brings them closer together, because it's just like unleashing these like the most difficult truths that they have and sharing those with each other. And I think it's a really beautiful moment that is played in a really wonderful way that you wouldn't exactly expect it to be.
The movie itself doesn't even treat that reveal as if it's a shocking reveal, because it knows that this is the type of movie, like, you've probably seen this type of movie before where we're going to reveal this. It's not about that. It's all about her character arc, her character growth, more so than it is about plot turns. It's all about the relationships, as you beautifully said, Mitchell.
Well, to wrap things up on a funny note, tell Dan, as the residential Josh Hartnett fanatic, doesn't this look like the cover of 40 Days and 40 Nights?
It does look a lot like it. Yeah. Wow, of course.
Except like the title isn't like functioning as like a symbol of his erection. That's the thing.
The best poster
ever.
Yeah.
Fun fact, 40 Days and 40 Nights, directed by the guy who directed one of my favorite movies, Hudson Hawk, Michael Lehman.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Who I believe directed Heathers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. One of the best high school movies ever.
Dan,
as a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, as a Josh Hartnett fan, where do you stand on the Black Dahlia?
Oh, we talked... When did we talk about this? I think we had Chad Harbold on for a De Palma B-Sides. So my opinion... Short opinion on the Black Dahlia is it's not a.
It rules. I'm sorry.
No. I now like it. And it's grown on me immensely over time. And my opinion remains, and this has held true ever since I saw it. I think the only person who's doing the thing the right way of the four leads is Hartnett. I think and we put it pretty succinctly in the episode, but it's like Eckhart, I think, is doing too much. Scarlett Johansson is kind of doing too little, and Hilary Swank just feels a little lost.
Oh, I love Hilary Swank.
Sure. No, I get that. No, I totally get that. And I think
full-on camp performance, I'm totally here for. Yeah.
Right, and I think that I get that fully. And I think Hartnett's the one where I'm like, I think De Palma kind of cracked the thing about Hartnett, which is like he does have that kind of stoic, slow burn quality to his, look, arsenal, right? I don't think he's got the best range in the world for an actor, but I think what he does have is that, and I don't know that he's been able to. He's been in another movie just the next year that taps into it is 30 Days of Night.
Good movie. I like that one. He's really good in that too.
That's a really good movie. Yeah.
And I think unfortunately, the way his kind of career went, and like somewhat by his own choice, is he didn't do that, and he kind of moved on. And I think now we're seeing him kind of come back and play more comic. And I think
he was really good in Penny Dreadful too.
Yes, actually,
as sort of like a later career.
He's actually really good.
Turn for him.
Yeah. And now his whole like character thing I think is great. I think him and the
Guy Ritchie stuff.
Him and the Guy Ritchie stuff he's very funny in it, and so I think that's been a nice thing. But yeah, I do like the Black Dahlia, and I think there's like some of the most incredible sequences that De Palma has ever shot in that movie. There's like two or three incredible sequences between that and Snake Eyes. Late period De Palma.
Oh, 5-star movie, Snake Eyes from Mitchell,
Love
right?
Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Yep. Snake Eyes, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked about this movie a few weeks ago already, or more like a couple months ago. But Dan, you're also a fan of the Tim Blake Nelson movie, right?
Oh, I love.
Yeah. Get Dan started on it.
All right, I'm getting my stuff and I'm moving into the next room.
But you,
yeah. Okay.
But you talk. But you must. If you talked about, you must have talked about what a that movie got postponed for like 2 separate tragedies.
Columbine, right?
Right? Columbine and then 9/11. Right? It was like, right? Isn't that right? It was crazy. Or it came out right after 9/11, right before 9/11?
I just re-listened to Down and Dirty Pictures, which is my favorite book. And
great book. Yeah.
It was at first Columbine, and then the Weinsteins were like, yeah, but there's like a presidential election coming. And it was like, what?
That's what it was.
Because it's August 2001 it comes out, I think. So I think
it comes out like weeks before 9/11.
Yeah.
It comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then so it kind of disappears. But it did... I kind of forgot it did pretty well for its budget.
Didn't too bad, yeah.
Yeah, which is like weird because you remember it as this like debacle kind of, or like a silly thing. I think Hartnett's amazing in that movie.
Yeah, it's so good. Although it was funny, like we had the trailer audio, I was like repeating to myself, like Hartnett's line in the movie is like, "You better watch your back, bro," or "Your girl's back, bro."
Yeah, well, he talks like this the entire time.
And I'll tell you this,
mysterious. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this that I suppose it's that infamous rape scene, right? Sex scene.
Yeah. Sell to Outcast, yes.
It's interesting because that got a lot of shit, but that's a good thing for people to watch. Like that's a really interesting and horrible portrayal of like a very real thing, right? And I think that when I saw that as a young person, like that blew my mind. Like I was like, oh my God, of course, like that idea of consent that in 2001 was like pretty like not talked about, right? Which is like so kind of crazy to think about. Like that scene was like sadly ahead of its time, right? Like, and I say that not like with any pride of our society, but I think like that scene like stuck on me like white on like that will stay in my mind forever. And
it's
like
very perceptive about that and race too. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff going on
that
in
too.
movie.
Yeah. And I just think, and then just the whole thing of like, then she goes to the person to like talk about it, and it
wasn't really rape type of thing.
Yeah, it's very. And Tim Blake Nelson talked like he really wanted that to all be in the movie, and it scared a lot of people away, of course. And interesting.
Yeah,
really kind of. Yeah, really interesting for a movie that could have been not like that. I think it's an interesting thing, but Kai Pfeiffer should have.
He's so good at the end.
He is. Yeah, he's very, very good in that movie. I don't like that movie very much, but I don't disagree with anything that's been said, and I think he's been. Yeah, he
totally
is and has been great. And
what was the show that he was on? Kai Pfeiffer
was it ER?
ER.
Yeah.
ER.
He was on like 180 episodes or some such shit.
Yeah,
like,
he was like a big
while.
late edition to ER. Yeah. So he got paid. He's all right. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, love O obviously. Yeah. But
any more final cooling thoughts about Zikula?
I don't know. I like it. I'm happy it got made.
Oh, it's good.
Good movie.
Even with its like kind of. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Did someone say they didn't like Outside Providence earlier? Who
yeah, that was me. I'm sorry, I didn't like it. It wasn't my.
I think I think that's a fun movie. No,
I like Baldwin in it. He has like a couple of good.
Let's end on some beef.
But
no. I recalled it because Michael Correnti directed that. He was involved with Confidence early on.
Oh wow!
Weirdly enough,
well, because he did American Buffalo, the adaptation of that, which also has Dustin Hoffman.
Hoffman, right? American
Friends.
Buffalo, yeah. Which I will say, American Buffalo. Speaking of David Mann, American Buffalo, one of my favorite plays I've ever read, and I was supposed to see American Buffalo with Sam Rockwell. In April of 2020, I was going to go to New York to see it. And then what happened? Oh, this like virus started spreading, and I had to not go to New York.
The Umbrella Corporation unleashed a virus.
that was wild. Yeah.
Whatever happened with that? What was it called?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then that hologram of that little girl, that red hologram was just like, you're all going to die down here. That was a weird Weird time.
Yeah, and she was British. That was very
time.
weird
Yeah.
that she was British.
And then they brought her back like
Weird
5
month.
movies later. Okay, we are descended into chaos. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at Kev Bonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at J Doyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CT Nash91. Once again, thank you for listening.